Hi friends, I'm Gio, and if you're new, welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. I like gay fiction, and I write it for fun. If you like this kind of stuff too, give me a thumbs up, or say hi in the comments, or even subscribe. This is the final chapter of Speeding, Chapter 15. Ethan has worked a grueling 30-hour shift with the firefighters, and he told Pete he had arranged for a social worker to come over to their place and talk about adopting a child. When Ethan and Pete got back to their apartment, they learned that somebody had broken in. Pete, I now know how it feels to have your dreams broken. Again. Losing the baby I had never known had almost destroyed me. I'd stopped living, stopped dating. I existed as a mere shadow. Until Ethan pulled me back to life. Losing my dreams hurt just as much now, and I held my love to keep from crying. Ethan and I stood in front of our place. My brother Roy stood a little to the side. Roy scowled. Ethan held me as I gently stifled a sob. "What do we do?" I said so low that only Ethan heard me. His arms tightened about me, giving me strength. I closed my eyes, but the ache didn't go away. This man loved me, had proposed to me, but why would he love me now? Everything was perfect, I whispered. Ethan ran his fingers through my hair but didn't say anything. Our friends, Thad and Sean, were walking up the stairs behind us, Thad leading their little dog, Pepperoni, on a green leash. Officer Gillespie, Ethan's friend from work, had a small notebook out and was quickly scribbling notes. He took pictures with his phone and sent them somewhere. "You didn't see anything?" Officer Gillespie said. "Moving trucks are almost a daily occurrence," the manager of the Terrace Gardens apartment said. This was our apartment. Nobody thought it unusual that one pulled in. "It had to have made several trips. Didn't you notice anything suspicious?" Officer Gillespie asked. "Not really. They were unloading stuff, not taking stuff," the manager said. We stood in front of Ethan's second-floor apartment, our apartment, clasping each other's hands. A dozen boxes were stacked around the door, and whoever had kicked the door in had bent the frame. The door would no longer close, and the door frame had a long horizontal gouge where the deadbolt had been kicked through the wood. Ethan stood next to me, completely exhausted, arms holding me up. He had just gotten off a 30-hour shift, with barely any sleep, and had dealt with a 3-alarm fire yesterday. I don't know why he didn't collapse. We had a bag in the car with the smoky, filthy clothes he had worn yesterday, and he wore the navy blue t-shirt and sweat bottoms with the letters DMB FD 341 on them. Even though he had showered back at the station, Ethan still smelled of smoke. Boxes filled our apartment as far as I could see, from wall to wall, from floor almost to ceiling. Only a narrow 8-inch walkway led down the central hall. Even though he was skinny enough, there was no way Ethan could make his way inside, not with the trauma he lived with. The apartment used to smell of warm vanilla and sometimes chocolate. Now it smelled of dust and mold and sweat and damp, like my place. "Do you remember the name of the truck?" Officer Gillespie asked. "I think it was those college kids, the cheap movers you hear on the radio. Pay our tuition movers," the manager said. "We see them here every week." "I know them. They're not too careful, but they are fast," Thad said, stepping past the manager and the officer to look inside the apartment. "Where did they get all this stuff?" Sean said. "Mom's house," Roy said. "The boxes on the table, those are in my closet. Aren't those Dad's work shirts on top of the boxes by the television?" "Ethan, my God, what happened? When you said somebody had broken in, this wasn't what I expected." Mrs. Sandoval, Ethan's mom, walked up the stairs carrying Ethan's little Shih Tzu, Sabretooth. I don't know, Mom, Ethan said. Somebody dumped all this crap in our place. We can't get in. Pete needs to get to work, and Roy, are you on double shifts again today? No, but I'd like to get a shower and find some clean clothes, Roy said. Ethan, you need a bed right now, I said. I can't go in there. You know what happens to me, Ethan said. I remember what happened at Pete's place, Ethan, and nobody's going in. We're treating this as a crime scene until we know what's going on, Officer Gillespie said. I hate the weird cases. Do you three have family you can stay with? Ethan, what about my apartment? We've cleared out the front, and we can keep the door open and the windows. I'll take off work and see if I can clear space back to the bathroom, I said. Ethan didn't say anything. Pete, could any of the stuff have come from your apartment? Mary said, her and Connor walking up the stairs to join us. Mary quickly hugged Ethan and me. If Roy's old boxes were here, and Dad's clothes, and probably his stuff, then what about mine? It should have been in my apartment. I had changed the locks, and I had the only keys. Except Jack, my complex's maintenance man. A second and a third police car pulled up, and an ordinary-looking van that had DMB PD crime scene on the side. Officer Gillespie looked at me, then spoke into his radio. I called the Mojave Sands office. Didn't get anyone, so I called again. Jack answered. Mojave Sands Apartments. I'm kind of busy. Call me back in 10. Jack, did you let people into my apartment? I shouted. Everybody around me, including the police, stopped and listened. Of course I did. They were moving you out. So long and good riddance, Jack said. I had until the end of August. How dare you let somebody steal my stuff? Give me Linda's number now, I yelled. Don't make me laugh. Taking your worthless crap is not stealing, Jack said. Officer Gillespie leaned in and spoke. I'm Officer Gillespie with the Dead Man's Butte Police Department. I'm sending some officers over with some questions. I would advise you to clear your schedule and answer my friends truthfully, because at the very least, you could be charged with permitting unlawful entry and aiding and abetting a theft and home invasion. While we wait for my friends to get there, give me Linda's number. Jack went quiet, but he gave us the number before hanging up. I dialed. When nobody picked up, I called again and again and again. Finally, Linda picked up. She was down in Arizona taking care of her daughter and her grandchildren. Pete, I got your pictures and your apartment looks much better. I should be back on the 20th so we can renegotiate the eviction. But the way you're calling, is something wrong? Linda said. Did you know about this, Linda? I shouted. Officer Gillespie took the phone from me. Let me handle this. Ma'am, I'm Officer Gillespie. Peter Stone's unit has been broken into and cleared out with the cooperation of a man named Jack. Did you authorize or know about any of this? Broken into? What do you mean? I left Jack in charge while I was gone, Linda said. It took only a couple of minutes for Officer Gillespie to take Linda's statement. Then he hung up and gave my phone back to me. He received a text, read it, and said, Pete, Lopez and Turnbow are at your apartment now, and Jack has let them in. Except for a couple of garbage bags, your place is empty, Officer Gillespie said. What's going on? Connor said. Officer Gillespie spoke into his radio and several officers joined us. Some were wearing crime scene jackets. Rough way to end a shift, Ethan, one of the new arrivals said. The others nodded at Ethan and he nodded at them. They all had the same boss, the Butte City Council, and they all worked in the same building. Of course they knew each other. I have to get to work, but Sneezy can babysit Sabretooth today, Mrs. Sandoval said. Call me and let me know what's happening. Sean pulled out a key ring, undid a key, and handed it to me. Don't mind the mess, but we have a bed and a couch, and anything in the fridge is yours. If you want, we'll hold the party at our place tonight. We might have to, Ethan said. After our friends had left, Ethan stood a little taller and looked at Gillespie. I want to talk to this pay our tuition movers, Ethan said, his voice chill. You let us handle this, Officer Gillespie said. I want to know who paid them, Ethan said. It was Mom. You heard what Cindy said the other night. Mom got a $10,000 loan to screw up our lives, Roy said. I talked to Cindy yesterday afternoon. In 1 week, Mom had yelled at a customer and an employee, and though she was out of sick leave, she took the day off. 3 strikes. On the 4th strike, she'll be fired, I said. Officer Gillespie made a couple of notes. You let us handle this. Pete, Roy, I think you'd better tell your bosses you're going to be late, Ethan said. He took the stairs 2 at a time and descended to the parking lot. Where are you going? I asked, following him. To have a little conversation, Ethan said. Ethan, you need to wait, Officer Gillespie said. I need answers, but I won't mind some company, Ethan said. I ran after my fiancé, and as he climbed into the driver's side of his car, I jumped into the passenger seat, and Roy climbed into the back seat. Call us, Thad yelled. Officer Gillespie said something to the officers going into our apartment, then ran to his squad car. As tired as Ethan was, he didn't make any mistakes while driving. He knew the roads better than a map and took shortcuts that I didn't know existed. In minutes, we were at Pay Our Tuition Movers. 2 police cars were already there, parked in back of a light blue moving truck with Pay Our Tuition in bright orange letters. Ethan got out. I followed, and Roy ran to keep up with us. The officers were inside talking to a couple of guys in blue t-shirts with the Pay Our Tuition logo on the back. Ethan didn't slow down, but opened the door and walked in. Gillespie called. Ethan, you shouldn't be here, one of the officers said. Pete, Roy, and me are the victims here. I want answers, Ethan said, and looked at the movers. We are the men whose apartment you invaded and destroyed. Was it Terry Stone who hired you? Ethan, let us handle this, the second officer said. We can't go home because of what these men did, Ethan said. How do you expect us to get to work? Tonight we have people coming over to help us adopt a baby, I said. Ethan, can we sue them out of business? I want all 3 of you gone, and let us handle this, Officer Lopez said. After what they did, what Mom made them do, Roy screamed, I want to sue them for $15 million. That's $5 million for each of us. I want these people so broke their grandkids feel it. The men of Pay Our Tuition Movers looked at each other, and one of them spoke. It's not our fault. Terry said it was a simple job. Her family was moving from an apartment in Mojave Sands and a house by the high school, and we were contracted to move all that stuff to an apartment in Terrace Gardens. She paid us double our normal rate to get the job done yesterday. It took 2 crews to do it, but we did it, the man said. I'm sorry. If we had known we were being used, we wouldn't have done it. How did you break in? Officer Lopez asked. Terry opened up the house and pointed at the boxes. Some men opened up a messed-up apartment at the Mojave Sands, and Terry said take everything. The apartment in Terrace Gardens was already open. We thought everything was legal, the man said. What you did to us was not legal, Ethan said. Ethan, you're too tired to think clearly. Let me handle this, I said. Gentlemen, we won't press charges or sue as long as you clean it up today. I'm sorry, but that's not possible. We have another client scheduled for today, the man said. Remember, you inconvenienced us, Roy said. My guitar is trapped in there, and I can't get a shower or clean clothes. Officers, press all the charges you can think of and shut this place down, I said. Roy, call Dad and let him know what's happening. Then find us a lawyer. 9:30. Opening time at the bank, and Officer Gillespie was already there and waiting for us. Lopez must have called him. Gillespie wasn't alone. He brought 2 friends. One wore a regular suit. The man in the suit said, You can start by asking your mom all the questions. She might even open up and brag a little. Asking questions is not illegal. We do it all the time. But there might come a point when Miranda will take over. You'll have to be quiet then. We walked in. Ethan gave a small, sardonic smile. It's been a while since I've been to this bank. What do you mean? Roy asked. My Aunt Joan had an account here, and I inherited it, Ethan said. Nobody sat at Mom's desk. Cindy was at her desk helping an older couple. She glanced up, saw us, and she excused herself from the people she was helping. She came to us. "What happened?" she whispered. "We found out what Mom was doing yesterday." "Where is she?" I asked. "Getting yelled at by the branch manager," Cindy said. 3 strikes is not a good place to live." "Would you let them know that Terry has clients waiting?" Ethan said. Though his voice was pleasant, it grumbled with exhaustion. I imagine there was some anger in there, too. We sat down at Mom's desk, pulling an extra chair over for Officer Gillespie. A moment later, the other officer stood behind us. One of them stared at Ethan. "I need some brownies for my girl's birthday party this Saturday, but she wants pink. You up for it?" Ethan nodded. "You get me my kitchen back, I'll make you the brownies." Mom came out of the back, her eyes stern, but she was smiling. That is, until she saw us and the police officers. She walked to her desk, gloating, with a very satisfied smirk. The man who must be the bank manager trailed her, but before anyone could say anything, Ethan pulled a bank card from his wallet and handed it to the manager. "Before we begin, would you check my balances in all the accounts I'm associated with?" "Now?" Roy asked. "Especially now," Ethan said. "Of course," the manager said, and handed the card to a teller. "What's that about?" I whispered. "Simple. My name is on Joan's accounts. I might be 22, but the accounts were set up 40 years ago," Ethan said, loud enough for Mom to hear him. "Mom, you have to be polite now," Roy said. "I'm always respectful of my clients, but I don't have time to help you right now. I have an appointment that should be here soon," Mom said, her voice sweet and syrupy, glancing as the manager returned. "You will have to postpone or reschedule. We have a few questions about your activities yesterday," Officer Gillespie said. "Would you explain your connection with Pay Our Tuition Movers?" "Not without a lawyer," Mom said, smiling. "Why did you steal all the belongings from your son's apartment and use them to trash Ethan's apartment?" Officer Gillespie said. "I'm sorry. Is my lawyer present?" Mom said. "Knock it off, Mom," Roy said. I took hold of Ethan's hand and took a breath. "I guess we have no choice but to press charges. Officer Gillespie?" "The DA loves weird cases as much as I hate them," Officer Gillespie grumbled. "Pete, Roy, you wouldn't dare. I'm your mother," Terry said. "Then answer this," I said. "You need to make a choice, and you need to make it right now." "I'd like to see my lawyer now," Mom said. "Think about this, Mrs. Stone. Do you keep the past and lose the future, or do you lose the past and keep the future?" Ethan said. "Is this a riddle to make me admit to something without my lawyer present?" Mom said. "No, Mom. Tonight, Ethan and I have a social worker coming over to tell us how to adopt. A year from now, we plan on adopting a child. It might be sooner. You're about to have a grandkid, but you've made that almost impossible. We have to clean up the apartment, not only to impress the social worker, but so my kid doesn't get hurt like I did. I'm going to get rid of the old trash you've been saving," I said. "Why did you do it, Mom?" Roy asked. "Do I see a lawyer yet?" Mom said. "Terry, you misunderstand the situation. Pete and I are starting our own family. If you want to be included in our family, you will clean up the mess, or you'll never see your grandchild," Ethan very calmly said. "You are a monster. How dare you keep me from seeing anybody?" Terry screamed. "Mom, you are the one who destroyed our apartment," I said. "Allegedly. I'm not saying anything more until I see a lawyer," Mom said. The bank teller brought a paper, and Ethan's card to the manager, who read the paper. He blinked, looked at Ethan, and blinked again. Then he handed the paper and the card back to Ethan. "Would you prepare to transfer all my accounts?" Ethan said. "I'll have the other bank contact you in a moment." "Mrs. Stone, respect our clients before they transfer to another bank," the manager said. "He does not deserve respect," Mom yelled. "This man has stolen my children away from me, and my husband has left me. I have no family." "Mr. Sandoval, I must apologize for the way Mrs. Stone is acting, sir. She has been an excellent employee through the years," the manager said. Mrs. Stone, either act in a professional manner or find another job. You have insulted one of our millionaire clients, and that is unacceptable." "My son is marrying a millionaire?" Terry demanded. "I think you'd better explain," I said. "Technically, I'm not a millionaire yet. When my grandfather died, he split his inheritance. 40% for my mom, and 40% for Aunt Joan, and 20% for me. My 20% went into a special trust for college, or until I turned 25. When Aunt Joan died, she left everything to me. I inherited her estate, plus what she would have inherited from my grandfather. My parents sold her house and her land, and everything went up for auction. That was put into the special trust as well. My parents are getting a divorce, but I think Mom saw it coming. She didn't want Dad to have access to the money, so her share of the inheritance, plus anything she didn't want Dad to have, was locked into my trust. She said she'd rather I had it than my dad. According to the rules of the trust, I can only use it for schooling until I'm 25. Except to pay for my EMT and my EMT2 training, the trust has had no outflows and has been accruing interest since I was a junior in high school. Ethan showed me the paper and smiled as my jaw hit the floor. Look at all the numbers. Ethan was rich. "I told you I don't spend, and I tuck the leftover money into the trust so I can't spend it," Ethan said. "If you have this kind of money, why drive an ambulance?" I said. "I'll have the money when I'm 25, and besides, I love helping people. As far as I'm concerned, the trust can keep earning interest until our kids go to college," Ethan said. "We might have a cheap Vegas-style honeymoon this year, but in a couple of years, when I can access the money, what do you say we visit the beaches in Hawaii, or walk the streets in downtown Tokyo, or wander the castles in England, or," Ethan said, "a real honeymoon in Paris? I've always wanted to sit in a little cafe with a view of the city, sipping wine and watching the lights come on," I said. "We can bring our kids," Ethan said. "We can take them anywhere in the world, and that is more valuable than any old book or old dish. Those are memories worth cherishing." I kissed my fiancé and desperately held him. "I love you," I said. "Grandchildren?" Mom said. "You could have been a part of it. You'd be a grandmother. But look what you did to us," Ethan said. "Ethan, can I be adopted?" Roy said. "I'm jealous, but we have other issues right now. Mrs. Stone has invoked her right to legal counsel. I think it's time I told her the rest of the rights she has," the man in the suit said, and recited the rest of the Miranda. Ethan tried to hold my hand, but I had clenched it tight. Ethan eased my fingers open and gave me a slight smile. "Mom, you can play all the games you want, but if you don't help clean up the mess before the social worker gets here, you'll never see our kids," I said. "Perhaps I need to remind Mrs. Stone that she is on her 4th strike," the branch manager said. "Her actions have put her job on the line." "My actions? Ethan stole my family from me. Even my husband doesn't want anything to do with me, and now I'm losing my job," Mom said. "It looks like you're having a bad day, Mrs. Stone. You're coming with us to the precinct to answer some questions. You can call your lawyer from there," Officer Gillespie said. "You're arresting me? On what charges?" Mom said. "Why don't we start with illegal entry, then breaking an entry, and go from there?" the man in the suit's voice droned on. "Ethan, Pete, Roy, I'll need statements from each of you, so I'll stop by your apartment later. It looks like you'll have your hands full." "Come with us, Mrs. Stone." "You've made your choice, Mom," Roy said. "Who would have thought we'd have to clean up after you?" We watched the police take Mom away, and Cindy came over. "Do you still want me to come over tonight?" "This is too important to cancel," Ethan said. Ethan's phone played a wind chime, and he read an incoming text. Officer Gillespie called Chief and told him what had happened. "We need to get back to our place, fast. Chief has invoked a code Plaid." "I thought your most urgent code was a Code 1, Priority 1, I said. "What is Code Plaid?" "It's a special emergency code," Ethan said. "What is it?" "You and Roy and your dad need to decide what you want to do with all that stuff. A Code Plaid means we're about to have the off-duty 341, the 342, and some of the off-duty police officers Come over and get our place cleaned up. Chief, Dietrich, Xavier, and Steph are already there, and the rest of A Shift are en route. That's A Shift from both the 341 and the 342. Some guys from B Shift are showing up too, Ethan said. We have a party to get ready for. Get rid of my crap first, Roy said. We've got 19 videos to go, and boss switched me from morning shift to afternoon shift. Epilogue 1. A few months later, late December. Ethan. Pete and I had been invited to a Christmas party. Not any Christmas party, but one thrown at the Java Dive. There were other special guests, like Tia and her family, Draper and his family, and Braddock and his family, and the rest of the guys on B Shift from that time back in August. We walked in. Last, of course. We had an appointment earlier with Tawny. Our adoption went through, and we were approved. A girl had gotten pregnant, and she had chosen to give the baby up for adoption. Tawny showed us the ultrasound pictures today. It was official. We were going to be dads. Pete teared up every 5 minutes, and then had the stupidest grin. We would have a son. His mother wanted to call him Chi-hun, after her Korean grandfather. We had already designed the announcements we would send to our friends and family. Lock and load, people. It's a Code 1 Priority 1, full SNL. Ethan and Peter Sandoval wish to announce the birth of the newest member of Station 343, Chi-hun Sandoval. The rest of the information, date of birth, birth weight, and some pictures would wait until after our son was born. What surprised me, Pete wanted to take my name. We walked into the Java Dive. It smelled of coffee and peppermint and was filled with a lot of the guys from the old B Shift and their spouses, plus a lot of people I didn't know. Jared and Mitch stood near the door, speaking with everyone. How about that? Ran over by a bus, and Mitch didn't even need a cane. Tia and her husband walked over to us, and Tia smiled. Have you two set a date? June 3rd, because Chi-hun is due in July, Pete said. I'm proud of you, Tia said. Have you heard anything about your mom? She came to our place once the police had finished questioning her and was helping the firefighters take boxes out. She was there when Gillespie came by and took our statements. Dad showed up and packed his things in his truck. You should have heard the way Dad screamed at Mom. It was weird because Mom didn't take boxes to the dumpster, but to her car. Mom blames me because she lost her job and Dad's divorcing her. After the firefighters had gone home and we were getting ready for Tawny, we spotted Mom at the dumpsters, picking up the old boxes and loading her car. It doesn't make any sense. First she dumps the old crap on us, then we threw the stuff away, and then she wanted it all back. She won't talk to Dad or me or Roy, and especially Ethan. He's the devil incarnate, Pete said. I'm sorry, Tia said. How's Xavier doing? I asked. Chief didn't want to move him, but we needed people to cover. Xavier's a junior partner on C Shift, but he isn't ready. I'm training a girl this time, and she has already memorized the map, Tia said. There was some kind of a cheer mixed with laughter, and we turned to look. Jared must have said something funny, and everyone around him laughed, even Mitch. Mitch saw us, raised his glass, and toasted us. He mouthed, "Thank you." We'll call this one a win, Tia said, and we toasted Mitch back. A moment later, he and Jared walked over to us, and Jared introduced us to all his friends, saying, "Let me introduce my heroes." Epilogue 2. A few years later. Daddy Ethan. The 343 pulled up to the curb at the baseball park at Washington Elementary, and we climbed out. I had another rookie as a partner, a 21-year-old kid named Greg. He had finally learned to put everything in its right spot, but he still didn't believe we wore turnout gear. Dispatch, this is Ethan of 343. We're taking a break for 15 so we can eat lunch, and I can watch my son's game. Acknowledged, 343. Tell Chi-hun good luck, Dispatch said. While Greg sat on the back end of the rig eating a very late lunch, I took a quick look around. My husband sat in the bleachers holding a gigantic sign that said, "We love you, Chi," and it had little hearts all over it. I walked over to Papa Pete and took a seat. What do you think about taking Chi to Korea for a week to visit his grandfolks this summer, and then come back by way of a week in Honolulu? I like how you use your trust fund. Let's make some memories, Papa Pete said. Look, Chi's up to bat, Thad yelled, as he and Sean took a seat by us. Their son, Chris, was currently on third base. Hit a homer, Chi. Though none of us were related, we were Uncle Ethan and Uncle Pete to their boy, and they were Uncle Sean and Uncle Thad to our boys. Our son walked up to the plate, carrying a bat. He glanced at Papa Pete's sign and rolled his eyes. He stared at me for help and yelled, Daddy Ethan, tell Papa Pete to stop embarrassing me. I'm 10 years old. Papa Pete, you're embarrassing our son, I said, kissing my husband. And proud of it. Plan B, Papa Pete said, and put the sign down, then held up a second sign. This one said, Love you, Chi, and it had even more hearts on it. Chi-hun rolled his eyes again. Why can't they outlaw signs? Chi's American grandparents sat down with us, my mom and Pete's dad, Bob. We were known as the family with the signs, and Mom didn't disappoint. Hers read, Chi-hun is an all-star, in gigantic letters. Her signs always had 1,000,000 sparkling stars. When do I get to join Little League? Wynn said. I wrapped an arm around our 8-year-old son and kissed his forehead. Once Tawny helped us understand what to do, and after we had adopted Chi-hun, we adopted again. Every year on Tawny's birthday, we stopped by her office and give her brownies. I think Aunt Joan would approve. In 2 more years, son, I said. We have to give Papa Pete time to design the signs. I'm thinking win, 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 Papa Pete yelled. Our oldest son hit a home run. We took to our feet and screamed. Dispatch screamed louder. 343, Code 1, auto incident with heart attack at Gordon's Brewery and Pub. Police are on scene. Paramedics required, ambulance required. Dispatch, this is Ethan of 343, Code 1 acknowledged. I yelled into my radio, quickly kissed my husband before I left the bleachers, and ran to the rig. Thad and Sean yelled. Chris must have made it home. Daddy Ethan, give me a ride, Wynn yelled. Pete yelled. Later. Remember, Daddy Ethan, I'm taking us out for breakfast tomorrow morning, right after you get off shift. Greg was already closing up the back. We played rock, paper, scissors. I chose scissors and he chose paper. I jumped into the driver's seat. I want to drive a rig like Daddy Ethan, Wynn yelled. Full S&L, Dad, Chi-hun yelled as he crossed home plate. I turned the lights and sirens on before I started the diesel engine and made sure the volume was as loud as it could go. Why not? I couldn't deny my sons anything. Papa Pete. The rig drove away, and I got a glimpse of the man who drove, the man who swept me off my feet, helped me clean up my life, and gave me my dreams. I held our youngest son tight and watched our oldest son high-five one of his teammates, a kid named Carrie. His 2 dads had worked with Tawny as well, and they sat a little ways down from us. My dad put an arm around my shoulders and whispered, Life doesn't get any better than watching your boys play baseball. The end. Thank you for listening, friends. Have a great day. Peace.